Okay, so for today we are going to do 7.1, which is zero and negative exponents. Okay. Any number raised to the 0 power equals 1. Any number. So, for example, if you have 8 to the 0 power, it equals 1. If you have negative 4 to the 0 power, it equals 1. And if you have something that looks pretty nasty, like this, if that entire quantity is raised to the 0 power, it equals 1. Next topic is negative exponents. In a weird format without using any number values, a to the negative n power equals 1 over a to the n, and 1 over a to the negative n equals a to the positive n. What this means is that if you have some value, whether it be a variable, a number, that number raised to a negative exponent, the exponent will become positive when you move it to the opposite side of the fraction. So if it's in the numerator and it's negative, we move it to the denominator and the exponent becomes positive. The number does not become positive, the exponent becomes positive. Likewise, if you have a number with a negative exponent in the denominator, if we move that whole term to the numerator, then the exponent becomes positive. So let's do some examples. If you have 4 to the negative 2, in order to make it positive, we are going to move it to the denominator and we're going to make that positive. Do not leave it like that. You end up with 1 over 16. The most common error is just people trying to take their own shortcut, which actually does not even exist, and just simply multiplying 4 times a negative 2 and getting negative 8, which is obviously wrong. I'll explain in a minute where the negative exponents come from and where zero exponents come from. B. If you have 2 to the third, x to the negative 2, and y to the negative 4. 2 to the third already has a positive exponent, so we are not going to move it. X to the negative 2 has a negative exponent, so I'm going to move it and the base down to the bottom or to the denominator and make it a positive exponent. The y to the negative 4, it has a negative exponent. I'm going to move it to the numerator and make it a positive. I'm going to clean it up. Okay, but I can simplify 2 cubed, and that is going to give me 8y to the 4th over x squared. As we progress through the chapter, what's going to happen is you're going to have the same variable on both the numerator and denominator, so we're going to have to be dividing some of those. Another example, m to the negative 2 over n to the 5th. M to the negative 2 has a negative exponent. So we're going to move it to the bottom, and it becomes a positive exponent. So in the bottom I have, or in the denominator, I have m squared n to the 5th I have to have something. This doesn't show up very well. Let me go over this. I have to have something to represent the numerator, and that's going to be a 1. You have to have the 1 as your placeholder. Let's do D, 2 to the negative 2, m to the 4th, all over 3, n to the negative 3rd. And if you want, you can pause it now, try it on your own, and then look at my work when you are done. 2 to the negative 2 has a negative exponent. I'm going to move it to the denominator and make it positive. M to the 4th doesn't move, it already has a positive exponent. N to the negative 3, I'm going to move it to the numerator. I'm going to clean this up. M to the 4th, N to the 3rd. When you are working with multiple variables, make sure you put them in alphabetical order. And I have 2 squared times 3, that's all that's left. Again, we can simplify this. 2 squared is 4 times the 3 gives me a 12. Okay? One other little tidbit is with evaluating. And you guys have been doing this for a while. I want you to evaluate if m equals negative 3 and n equals 4. And I'm giving you the expression of 2m all over n to the negative 2 power. Substitute your values in. So I have 2 times m, and m is a negative 3. N is 4, and that is raised to the negative 2 power. Now we're right back to what we just did. 2 times a negative 3. Yes, the 3 is negative. It does not have a negative exponent, so it stays. So 2 times negative 3 gives me a negative 6. 4 to the negative 2, to make it a positive exponent, I bring it up to the numerator. So there's nothing in the denominator on this one. So I have negative 6 times 16. Remember, order of operations, exponents come before multiplication, so you do not get negative 24 squared. Negative 6 times 16 gives me a negative 96.